I always thought you absolutely had to hire a lawyer to get your will, advance directives, and power of attorneys done.
Then Honey went to her end-of-life doula class and learned some surprising news.
Yes, it turns out some states provide these documents for free, including Texas, where we live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thoughtful Planning. I'm Santiago.
And I'm Honey. We're your host here at Thoughtful Planning, and we are so excited to be starting our third year of this podcast journey with you.
3 years? Can you believe it's been 3 years? It just feels like yesterday we were fumbling through our first episode trying to get some of our initial documents, ready. Wow.
And let's be honest, we're still figuring some things out, but that's exactly why we love doing this. We get to learn and grow right alongside our amazing listeners.
So here's our essential question for today's episode. What's the difference between knowing where to find legal documents and actually being prepared to complete them?
That's a question we're going to circle back to at the end, so keep that in mind as we share what we've learned about preparation versus information.
But first of all, our usual disclaimer. We're not attorneys, we're not financial advisors, we're not medical professionals by any account. We're just two passionate people that are willing to help people, families, get prepared for their life's uncertainties.
And speaking of attorneys, let's be crystal clear about something very important. If you have complex financial situations, significant assets, or can afford an estate planning attorney, we absolutely recommend working with one. Estate attorneys are invaluable, especially for complicated circumstances.
So what we're sharing today is for folks who might not be able to afford an attorney right now, or who have more straightforward situations, but still need these foundation documents in place. And I'm kind of surrounded by a lot of the folks that fit into this category right now, working in the inner city as a teacher.
Right, the soon-to-be 18-year-olds specifically.
Soon to be 18-year-olds.
So, our third year, pretty exciting. When we started this podcast, what did you think we'd be talking about now, babe?
I thought we'd be talking about something totally different. End of life planning would be taken care of. And honestly, I thought we'd have finished all this stuff up by episode 10. But we know that every conversation we've had, every person we've interviewed, every listener, it just opened up another door for us to explore.
Right. And that's been the beauty of this journey. We've interviewed estate planning attorneys, an end-of-life doula. I became one, a funeral insurance planner, and more. And each conversation taught us something new about helping families get prepared.
After doing a lot of reflection in the past episodes, Honey discovered that there's more to share regarding free documents offered by some of our states. Not all, but most.
Yes, the real insight came when I was helping a friend navigate her documents. That's when I realized where people actually get stuck and where we should start.
So it isn't really just knowing that the resources exist, but it's understanding the preparation process that makes a real difference.
Exactly. So we've been pointing people towards these resources, but we've never actually walked them through what they need to think about before they start filling out forms. And I think that's the biggest missing piece, helping people know where to start so it's actually easier for them.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, here's the form, kind of fill it out. And another thing entirely to help people understand what decisions they're making and what they need to do first, what conversations they may need to have, and how to really approach these documents in a thoughtful way.
So that got us thinking about all the conversations we've had over these past 2 years. For example, we had April on our podcast, and she shared this eye-opening story about her son who was a senior in high school.
Yeah, I remember that, and how she was telling us that her son needed surgery. Mm-hmm. And April was completely caught off guard when he had to sign his own medical documents because he was already 18.
Right. Just kids still living at home, still in high school, and suddenly he's legally an adult who has to make his own medical decisions. April knew this transition was coming eventually, but she wasn't prepared for it to happen during such a stressful time.
Yeah, so it really highlighted how being prepared ahead of time, knowing what documents you need now, and having those conversations before a crisis, before you're in that fight, can really make a difference for families.
And it's not just for parents of 18-year-olds. We've heard from listeners who feel overwhelmed by where to even start with their own planning. They want to get their documents in place, but the thought of navigating the legal system or paying attorney fees feels like such a huge barrier.
So we thought, well, Honey was thinking about it, and she said, hey, why don't we walk people through this process? What if we could help them understand exactly what each document does, what information they need to gather before they sit down with the documents, and then how to approach them and fill out every document in a thoughtful manner.
And that's what we're going to do in our new series. Starting on our next episode, we're going to break down each foundational legal document one by one. And when we say foundational, we mean the documents that pretty much every adult should have at minimum. Your will, advanced care directives, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, and HIPAA authorization.
Exactly. And, starting with your, like Honey already mentioned, 18-year-olds. If you're a parent and you have a 17-year-old that might be graduating this year or has already just turned 18, this would be a great a place for you to start getting those young adults ready. So here's a really quick note. We've done some research and discovered that not all states have the same forms available online. We're based in Texas, so we're focusing specifically on the forms that Texas requires or has in our upcoming episodes.
But here's the good news. Even if you're in a different state, the preparation work we'll walk you through applies everywhere. The questions you need to ask yourself, the conversations you need to have, the decisions you need to make, those are universal. Regardless of which state's forms you end up using, the goal is to help you understand not just what these documents do, but what you need to think through before you sit down to fill them out.
Yeah, and what we were thinking about is making sure that we don't overwhelm our listeners with forms. We're not going to overwhelm you by trying to cover everything at once. Each episode will focus on a specific document and the items you need before you sit down to fill out the document.
Right. And hopefully we'll be able to cover each document in one episode.
Yeah, hopefully.
Otherwise, we'll break it up.
Yeah.
Because here's what I learned from going through this process myself. When you're not prepared with the right information, you end up starting a form, getting stuck on a question you haven't thought about, and then, well, let's just say that form might sit half finished for months.
Yeah, getting a little frustrated, I should have gotten this stuff ready, or where do I find this stuff to start with? So I see how that could be frustrating. So that's why we want to help you get prepared before you sit down with these forms. We want you to be able to complete each document with full confidence in one sitting, knowing that you've thought through all of your choices.
And we'll share what we've learned about making these important decisions, like how to choose the right people for different roles, what questions you should ask yourself, and how to have these conversations with your family. All right, so here's what we want you to do before our next episode. We want you to start a notebook or create a document on your computer. Title it something like My Legal Documents Journey or whatever feels right to you.
Yeah. So this continuity book, where you have all your stuff written down and maybe you put locations of where certain documents are. So, hey, if you forget where they are, you remember, hey, I wrote it down here. It's going to be your planning companion as we go through this series. You'll use it to jot down any thoughts, track your decisions, and write why you made those decisions, and keep all that information in one place, a notebook,
or
however you figure out, however you want to
or in
do
a
it.
Google Doc or
Google Doc.
whatever is easier for you. And then here's something I learned during my doula training. Each document might require you to choose different people for different roles. Your medical power of attorney might be different from your financial power of attorney, and both might be different from the executor of your will.
So in your notebook, your electronic notebook, however you want to do this, create a section called People to Consider. I would actually also just not put their people to consider, but maybe their contact information down with that also. So you have all that in one place. You don't have to go fishing for it later. And then start your brainstorming on who would fit in which category first or best. Who in your life would be good handling financial matters? Who would you trust with support of your medical decisions? Thinking and supporting your decisions and not weighing on that decision too much. Who's organized enough to handle your estate administration when you're gone?
So don't worry about making final decisions yet. We're just getting the wheels turning. As we dive into each topic in the coming episodes, you'll have the framework to make those thoughtful choices.
Now, we've said this before, this isn't morbid or pessimistic. It's just about being prepared and taking care of the people you love. When you're in that fight, like Honey and I were, it's been almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years next year. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of time to make the decisions we're talking about, and you're really not clear of mind. So make those decisions now, or try to. And then, like we've said all the time, you can change the decision later if you figure out your people back and forth. But having something on paper now will really save some time.
So in our next episode, we're going to start with advanced care directives, what they are, why you need them, and most importantly, what conversations and decisions you need to have before you fill out those forms.
And plus, we're going to share some stories, some insights that might help you think about scenarios you may not have considered yet.
All right, so let's circle back to our essential question. What's the difference between knowing where to find legal documents and actually being prepared to complete them?
And that's a very important distinction. We've shared resources before, those ARP links to state forms, mentioned of where to find different documents. But just what we realized lately is that knowing where the forms are isn't really enough to that final preparation.
Right. You can send someone to a website full of legal forms, but if they don't know what decisions they need to make first, or what information to gather, or how to think through choosing the right people for different roles, they're going to get stuck.
And you see this whole list of stuff, where do I start? That's a big deal for me. Sometimes I look at big lists, I'm like, where the heck do I start? So that's exactly what I think happens to me, maybe to you. So people will start filling out a form, hit a question they haven't thought about. And then again, like Honey said, it's just going to sit there not completed for months, maybe years.
Right. Now I want to say this again. If you have a blended family, complex assets, own a business, have special needs family members, or you can afford to work with an estate planning attorney, please do that. And let me also say, I know we've mentioned this in a prior episode, but Santiago and I, we used an estate planning attorney, and we actually have a trust for the two of us is what we opted for. And our attorney did help us walk through a lot of the forms. And so we opted for a trust for the ease of our family for after we die, so they can avoid the probate process.
Well, and then, we don't have a lot of assets, we're, not like you've mentioned before, thinking that trusts were for somebody that were multimillionaires and all this other stuff. But when we looked at the cost of probate versus the cost of the trust, it was significantly lower than going through the probate process. And then the privacy issues with the trust advice going through probate and then the length of time. We just want it to be easier for us because we know that we're probably going to be emotional, probably not going to be thinking of what do we say about being in the right mind. We might not be at the right mind of
Clear of mind.
Clear of mind, going through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just easier to have everything in that one binder. But before folks who need to really get started in this process, who want to protect their families but can't navigate or can't afford those legal fees right now, the state provided documents can be a real lifeline and can save some time, still save some time on the back end. And hopefully your state offers them, or there's other places within your state that have, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but fillable documents for you that you might be able to use.
And the beautiful thing is you can always upgrade to attorney drafted documents later as your situation becomes more complex or your resources change.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have all that information anyway. It'll be easier for you and for the lawyer because you can say, "Here's what I got." They can start working on your stuff, and it'll be just easier.
And like you said earlier too, the good thing is that if you walk through this process with us that we'll go through talking about the forms and learning about the conversations and all that, what you said earlier is you can change.
Yeah.
So like if something happens in your life, you need to get a new advocate for you, or someone moves or not close to you anymore, or whatever. Things change all the time.
Yes.
So what's great is, especially if the state does offer these forms for free, you can just redo the forms and get rid of the old ones. So
yeah,
it's pretty easy.
I think there's still an associated cost with the forms because you have to get most of them notarized.
Right?
Oh, so
right, unless you can find like our county offers a free notary,
yeah.
So that could help. But yeah, you're right. And then of course, in regards to if you did pay an attorney for a trust and something changes, like our attorney, I could email him and ask him a question, and then he could give me an advice on whether or not I should, what I need to do to make an update, and then the cost involved. So
give you advice. You're really paying for it. So here's your homework for this week. Grab a notebook, start a Google file where you're going to put your notes. Start that notebook that we talked about. Think about the people, your people that you want to put, and maybe next to it put what roles they might be able to fill for you. And then I would put their contact information on there just so you have it handy. You're not fishing for it out of your address book that you have somewhere in your cupboard. So that's what I would do.
right.
That's what we're asking you to do.
Right. Just write down trusted people. Really, that's all you need to do. Don't go down a rabbit hole of which role do they need to fill and what do they need to do. We're going to talk about that on future episodes. Yeah. Just write down some trusted people, their names, and have that ready. And if you're feeling inspired, share this episode with someone who might need to hear this message. We all know someone who's been putting off getting their documents together because they think it's too expensive or complicated.
Especially if they have that 17, 18-year-old child that might not be covered or going off to college soon. I was telling my seniors the other day, we've got 4 weeks left in this semester and then 4 more months until they're done with work. So it's coming fast.
Yep.
So this year's really flying by. If you find this episode helpful, hit that subscribe button below on YouTube or give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have any questions or want to share your experience with us, reach out to us at info@legacytoolkit.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for joining us as we kick off year 3 of thoughtful planning. We're excited about this new direction and can't wait to walk through this journey with you.
And remember, planning isn't about being scared of the future. It's about being prepared for it and meeting it head on. And there's something really empowering about taking control of your situation and getting these important pieces in place.
So until next time, remember, every chapter you write today shapes your legacy tomorrow. Thank you for joining us at Thoughtful Planning.